What's up everybody, JJ here, and a new competitor has appeared to challenge the iRobot Braava M6. The company Yeedi, totally not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, they said this could compete with the Braava M6. I said sure, if you send it over I will give it a fair competition between these two devices to see how they compare, how they compete, and which one I would recommend if you're in the market for a smart robot mopping machine. Our dog and cat are not easy challengers, and Ada has been blowing a coat recently, so this thing has really put through its paces in the last 2 weeks of testing. And just a little teaser, it has impressed me and even got the wife's stamp of approval. But first off, let's go back to the beginning. Let's do a little unboxing, show you all that comes with it and how you can get it set up. So it all comes in one really big box because the base station is huge in here. There's 3 little sections here. First one, this first section contains the robot, just like that. Then you're done with this first box. Box number 2 is your accessories. Little label kind of shows you got your spare pads, your extra container, your brushes, your plugs, and all your manuals and instructions. Then the last part of the box, is the whole base station. And if you've ever used a smart vacuum before, all these parts look fairly similar, but it's how they use them that makes it pretty unique. And there is a pretty good quick start guide. All the pictures really show you everything you need to do. First off, you put your brush on the bottom of your vacuum. Step 2 is finding a place for your base station. And this is where it's a little bit different than the Braava M6. With that one, if you want to mop a different area of your house or a different floor, you can just carry it up there, place it down, turn it on, and it will start mopping. This one needs the base station to do the mopping, since inside of here we've got all these canisters of water. So you fill one of these up with clean water, and as it's doing its mopping, it will fill this one up with your dirty water. And every time I run this, it looks so gross. But once you find a place for this, get it plugged in, you can just slide this up inside here and it will immediately start charging. On the back here, it is really nice. There's a track where you can coil up your spare cable that you're not needing. That way, if you don't need a bunch of extra cable to reach to wherever the socket is on the wall, you can coil it up. That way you don't have a big pile of wire laying around that's probably gonna get caught by the vacuum. There you can hear it does have audio responses to tell you the various steps. That makes the setup extremely easy, and when it's running it will explain things as it goes. The next step, step 4, is to get the app installed, and there is a QR code that allows you to download it directly from there, or you can go to the Apple App Store or Google Play Store and download it directly from those sites. And pairing your first device is extremely easy. So on top of the actual mop here, there's a QR code. So then inside of the app you hit add new device, and then you scan this QR code with your smartphone, and then it will give you a new QR code here. You hold that above this little camera on top of the actual vacuum. It scans the QR code on the app, and there it links the two together, and that will connect this whole system up to your Wi-Fi and gets it all running. And that's really all there is to connect this up to your Wi-Fi. Super easy, super convenient, the whole pairing both ways with QR codes both ways. It's one of the easiest ways I've seen to connect a Wi-Fi device to your local Wi-Fi. The next few steps of the setup are kind of explaining some basics of robot vacuums. It's all some pretty basics about what types of devices would get run over by a robot vacuum and what you should clean up. For example, smaller wires, little socks, make sure you push your chairs in on your tables, will make things a little bit easier. Frayed edges of rugs, maybe tuck those underneath. And that pretty much wraps up all there is in the quick start guide. It really is that easy to get it up and running. Then everything else will be controlled by these 3 buttons on the front, or from inside of the app. I do really like these 3 buttons on the front. They're simple and easy to use and work quite well, give you a lot of functionality. There's of course a return home button, so if it's out vacuuming or something, you can just tell it to come home. Next is a play pause button, and if you press and hold that one, it will fully stop the current cleaning session it's on and then come back and continue charging. So this last button down here is your cleaning of the base station button. So the first time you press it, it will fill this canister down here below the vacuum, this little canister back here, with water. And then it comes with this is basically like a bottle brush, and you can scrub down here and get any gunk, because it does get pretty dirty around there, especially if you have very dirty floors like us. A lot of dog hair gets caught back there. So you scrub it all out, and then you press the middle button again, and it sucks that water away and into the dirty canister in the back. The next thing I think we should address are the 2 canister options here. You have really 2 functionalities here. The first one is a fully vacuuming canister, and it won't do any mopping. It will just act as a regular smart vacuum run around, do its vacuuming, fill up this really large canister full of hair and dust and dirt. The next one is a dual canister. So on the bottom here, there's these Velcro pads, and they give you 2 of these sets of little wheels. These go right on there. And then when it's vacuuming, first it comes to the base station, it fills up this bottom station to get these nice and wet, and then it runs along the floor, spinning these, cleaning the floor behind it. After a little while, it comes back to the base station, fills it up with clean water, cleans these off, and then re-soaks them with water, and then it goes out and keeps cleaning. So while this thing is mopping, it doesn't have a canister of water on the actual robot moving around. The canisters stay in here. But that does mean it cleans off these pads as it goes, and you get a very satisfying feeling when you're cleaning out that dirty water tank. It gets so dirty for me. I've run it every single day for the last 2 weeks, and every day it keeps getting dirty. At the beginning, I was sometimes running it twice a day to see if I would get an actual clean tank of water run through the system, but it never worked. It kept picking up more dirt. It does such a good job at really getting the dirt off of the ground and into the dirty water tank. But I guess we should go back to this. This is a dual canister setup. So there's the mopping pads on the back, but there is still this vacuuming little canister here. You can open it up. It's still got a little HEPA filter in there. It's way smaller, so it's for sure not as big as the fully vacuuming one. But while you're going around mopping, if there's a little bit of dust and dirt around, or your dog keeps shedding, which is always going to keep happening, it will pick up a fair amount of additional dust, dirt, dog hair while it's doing the mopping. So it's a mop and vacuum combo running at the same time, which I think is an amazing idea. Every morning I've been running the full vacuum cycle and then the mop and vacuum cycle, and this little canister is still full of dog hair by the end of all of that. This is also really nice. This top little lever clicks in place so it's not going to flop out. That unlocks it to pull it off. Also on here, there's this built-in tool. It's got this little brush to be able to clean out little parts. This little blade is really useful for being able to clean out any hairs or long threads that get caught on this roller down here. Super useful. I mean, tool is very useful for robot vacuums, but having it kind of built in and always with you. It's also a tool I'm way more likely to use since I see it every single time I clean out this vacuum. Instead of on a normal vacuum, it's hid away in some drawer or I lost it entirely. So the next thing I think we should cover is the app, and I think that's one of the biggest downsides I've found with this vacuum. So first off, on the home page, you've got your vacuum in the middle here. If you had multiple, they would show up sort of listed here. I named mine Dustbuster because I thought it was funny. So in here, it's actually working, and this is only the second time it's allowed me to get to this screen. So when I initially set it up, the app worked for me, and then it hasn't worked until I started filming this review, and now it's working for me. Every other time I was using it, I would click on the vacuum, and then this loading little circle in the middle there would keep spinning. Here's a screenshot of kind of what it looked like, and that middle little icon would just keep spinning, and I tried leaving it for like 15 or 20 minutes, and nothing would change. And luckily there are these 3 controls on the front here, so you are able to still use the machine without the app support. The app support just unlocks a lot of added features that are really nice and kind of expected at this price point. I did reach out to the company and they said they hadn't seen this before, and now it's working for me, so I don't know if there was a firmware update or an update of the app that has happened since then. But if you are having issues with it connecting to the app, maybe try recording a YouTube video, and apparently it's working for me now, so just try that. Or if it's just not working for you, I would be sure to check it out early on, and it might just be a defective unit for you. Mine is now working, so it's no longer a problem. But if it is having issues for you, if I purchased this myself, I would probably return it and swap it out for a different unit. So on the app here, there are some more advanced things you can do. Here is the map of the main level of this house that it cleans, and you can go in here and edit the map if you want to create no vacuum zones. These are little virtual boundaries around a certain area, which is so nice. I do have a little boundary around our dog's food and water bowl. Our Roomba did come with a little base station, which puts out a little laser boundary, and that was what we used to use with our Roombas, but now being able to do it virtually inside of the app is really useful and allows you to put a lot of them down there all for free. So I do think this is a better way to do it. One downside, I do think if Yeedi is listening, I wish they would put this function in there. I do wish I could draw extra room boundaries. The main floor here is mostly open concept type thing, but it is different rooms, and I wish I could clean it in different orders or be able to tell it, clean the kitchen and not the living room. As it is now, I would either clean the entire main floor or not. That way, for example, right after you cook, you could have it remop the kitchen to get it nice and clean instead of having to do the entire house again. That's something I would love to see in a future update. Down here at the bottom, there are some other settings you can do as well. You can have it clean 1 time or 2 times. If something is extra dirty, you could have it go over it twice to get it nice and clean. Vacuum power is a huge thing. I love this setting. Standard power is very quiet. For example, if you needed it to be quiet because people are sleeping when you want it to run, you could turn it down to the quiet setting and you really wouldn't be able to hear it. It would be extremely quiet. The standard setting is still really quiet, but still gets you pretty good suction. But if you found it wasn't cleaning well enough, you could easily bump it up to max or max plus, get a ton of suction out of it. Water flow level is another one you can adjust to get it nice and clean if you have a lot of hardwood floors and your floors can handle it. Since our main floor is pretty large, if I run it at max water level, it will go through an entire tank of clean water. So for us, running it at medium allows it to clean the entire space without me needing to come back and re-top off the clean water tank. You can also change things like your cleaning sequence if you want it to do things in a certain order. You can schedule it to have it automatically start at 9 a.m. and start your cleaning. Robot voice you can also adjust.
Here and ready to start.
Nice and loud, or you can turn it all the way to mute, since after you've used it for a while, you probably don't need it. The app does give you all the notifications that do come from this. So whenever it gets stuck, it both audibly says it is stuck, and I will get a notification on the app that says, hey, the Roomba is stuck, come help it. But we'll leave it at medium for now. And then down here at the bottom are some other really nice features. There's just so many smart settings that they put in here. Resume clean, I think that's standard, has to be on of if it runs out of battery while it's cleaning, come back, charge up, and then go out again. If you don't want that on, you can turn it off right here. You could turn it to do not disturb mode. That way, if you have it scheduled to run, but you don't want it to run today, you can turn it to do not disturb and it won't run until you turn that off. This last one I really like is boost suction mode. That way, when it auto detects that it's running over carpet, it will crank it up to max settings. We do have a few rugs this is going to be running over, and so it doesn't need to be super high power on all the hardwood floors. And so it can run at its quiet normal setting over the hardwood floors, but when it runs over the carpet, it boosts up to max and really gets a good clean out of the carpet. So that covers usability of the app. I think it's a good app, very nice features in there when it's working. So if the app is working for you, that's great. If it's not working for you, it's not as great. So now I think it's time to talk about these in a head-to-head fashion. The Roomba Braava M6 and the Yeedi Mop Station Pro. So I think the biggest performance metric here is mopping performance, how clean they leave the floors after they're done. And I think hands down the Yeedi wins that by far. There's just some amazing design choices this one goes with that really makes this look antiquated. This is almost a glorified Swiffer wet jet. It's got this pad. This is basically a Swiffer pad that clips to the front. It sprays and then runs that pad over. And a big complaint I had in the review video of this one in the comments, when it runs over the pad, then the wheels will leave marks in the wet floor. On this machine, they put the mopping pads on the back of it. So as it runs across the floor, if the wheels would leave a streak, the mopping pads will clean off those streaks and leave it nice and clean and ready to go. And that's very true. I get no streaking issues with this robot. Another interesting thing to compare is the cleaning pads. I think using this single pad would work if you were cleaning a small area that wasn't that dirty. So if you're cleaning a single room, or if you didn't have a bunch of traffic and your floor was pretty clean to begin with, this would do a pretty good job. But I feel like with this one, at the end of the cleaning session, this pad is already pretty dirty, so it's not going to be as good at cleaning. With the Yeedi though, it comes back about every 10 minutes and cleans these pads off. So then it's good to go, just like new. Another thing to compare is what you have to do when it's done. With this one, after it's done, it leaves a wet and dirty pad stuck to the bottom of this and pressed against a plastic base. So if you run it and then go away for the weekend and then come back and you pick this thing up, this will be the worst smelling mopping pad. It's rank, it's horrible, and I've done that way too many times already. With this one, on the other hand, it comes back to the base station and then cleans out these pads, and then there is space in here for them to dry. There is a light fan you can hear running to help dry them out a little bit. I wouldn't say it's a perfect solution. They do start to smell after a while, but if you were to leave these over a weekend, they would smell slightly dirty, versus this one is rank and awful. It does start to smell if you don't clean this clean water tank. Well, it doesn't smell outside of it, but when you open it up to dump it out, then you get the smell of it kind of starting to grow that musty, mildewy smell inside of this tank. Luckily it is contained in here and away. And if you're running it every single day, these pads won't get all musty and mildewy anyways. The only maintenance you have to do between every time you run it, or at least for me, since the clean water tank runs out every single time I run it, you have to refill this up, and after it's done running, you empty out the dirty water tank. Very low maintenance, very easy to do. The Roomba, on the other hand, between mopping sessions, you have to remove this dirty pad, make sure you put it somewhere that it can at least dry out until you can get to cleaning it, then put on a new pad, and then fill up the water tank. You gotta get the water tank out of here, and then go fill it up somewhere, close it up, come back, put it in there, and then you're ready to go. So they both, at least for me, will need their tanks refilled every time they run, but on the Yeedi, you don't have to replace these pads every single time. And I have just been washing these once a week. I'll swap them out because it came with 2 pads. The pads are another thing to mention. This one came with 2, and I think that's plenty to get going on, and I don't really want or need any more. With the Roomba, I think it came with a single pad only, and I had to buy a bunch of these third-party pads because every single time you run it, you need a clean pad. And then eventually they can crack. This one cracked and is not usable anymore. These, on the other hand, there's no hard part on here, so they're not gonna crack or break on you. Using cleaning solution between both of them, this one doesn't recommend it. The Roomba recommends you use their own special cleaning solution. This one says you can use just clean water in there. I've had comments on the Braava M6 video of people using all kinds of different cleaning solutions. Make sure it's well diluted in there. But any normal floor cleaner you like to use could be diluted and used in both of these systems. The next thing to consider is the price between these two, and editor JJ will put in whatever best price he can find currently for both of these. That is something to consider. This one's new, so I don't know if it'll be on sale yet, but this one is fairly old, so does go on some pretty heavy discounts if you find it at the right time of the year. Yeedi did want me to mention they do have a new program for upgrading and trading in older Yeedi models for newer ones. You can send it in and get credits toward a new model. And they also have a new swap repair program, so if it's within the warranty period, they will send you a brand new one. You send in the old one, they'll do the repairs, but you get to keep a brand new one if something happens within that warranty period. So that made me a little more confident in going with an off-name brand here, that they're going to actually stand behind their product, and if you have issues with it, they'll give you a whole brand new one. Another thing I wanted to mention are the smarts between the two, because iRobot is a big company. They really founded robot vacuuming, and the smarts are very much there. This thing is so smart. The algorithms of the iRobot seem to be way better at getting around things or maneuvering around new obstacles. It's just a very smart machine. Now, do you need all those smarts? Not really, because this one cleans really well, but I did want to mention that this one is a bit smarter, and you can tell when it bumps an obstacle, it understands what a new obstacle means and how to get around it really easily. Here's some videos of this one trying to go around our rug, and you can see how much it keeps just bumping and edging its way around things, instead of the Roomba, on the other hand, would bump it, understand it's an obstacle, turn around, and keep doing its lines. So just because they are both smart robot vacuums, and they both are able to cover a cleaning area, this one you can tell is a little bit better when it's going around the floor. And one thing to note with this one, when it is in mopping mode with these pads on there, it's not gonna cross over a rug or carpet. So if you've got, I don't know, a weird layout in your house where it's hardwood on one side and the other and carpet in the middle, it won't be able to cross over that carpeted section to go mop a different section. So for that theoretical layout, you could put the vacuum section on the back here and it would vacuum everywhere, but with the mopping attachment on the back, it's only going to clean that first area. With the Roomba, on the other hand, you could pick this up, carry it to the other section of the house, set it down, turn it on, and it would mop that area of hard floors. Just an interesting difference of how this one works means that some types of houses or areas, apartments, might not work as well as this one. But if you got the right type of layout, this one is amazing. So now I think we can come back to the conclusion question of which of these I would recommend. First off, let's start with the Roomba. I think this is a more narrow use case of who this one's for. If you already got a Roomba product, a Roomba vacuum, and you want to pair a mop with it, and you just want something that works with that ecosystem, works with that app, sure, this one will do that. But it is a more narrow use case of where this is a good mop. If you're mopping a small area or an area that's not super dirty, if your floors are normally clean or you're just mopping a room or two at a time, this little pad won't do great if you're trying to clean a huge area like we were trying to do. Another benefit of this one is being able to clean multiple floors or carry it around to different rooms. You can pick it up, move it into an area, place it down, press clean, and it cleans that area. Since it's got an internal tank here, you can actually do that. This one, you would need to carry this entire base station around. This one is big and clunky, and moving it between floors would be a huge hassle. The Yeedi, on the other hand, I think is a better mop, and it's a mopping vacuum combo. So you really get two machines in one, and the mopping functionality is better than this one is at being a mop. So if you're cleaning a large area or a fairly dirty area, if you've got pets around, this one is the one to go with. Since it cleans these pads as it goes, every bit of the floor is just as clean as all the other ones. This one starts to get worse and worse cleaning performance as it goes. But there is the downside if you can't carry this around. This base station is a lot bigger and bulky and stands out. This one's nice and flat. If you really want a more discreet cleaning robot, this one might be the one to go with, but purely performance side, this one wins by far. But I know if I was giving my previous self advice, especially if I didn't have a vacuuming Roomba as well, I would buy this single station instead of the vacuuming Roomba and this. But that about wraps it up. If you've got any questions for me, let me know. There will be links for all of these in the description down below. And I do have one question for you in the comments down below. If you already do own a smart robot mop, what cleaning solution are you using? I would love to hear what you're using to keep your floors nice and clean, because I'm always on the look for little ways to get more performance out of these machines. But anyway, that just about wraps it up. Go out there, have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video.